Okay, hi everybody. Appreciate you joining the session today. We're going to take a look at the new release of Windchill Modeler 9.6. And as you probably know, Windchill Modeler is PTC's model-based systems engineering solution. So my name is Patrick Ollerton. I'm the product manager, and I'm excited to talk you through the new features in this release. So the strategy for Windchill Modeler has been pretty much the same for the last few releases. Our aim is to be the systems and software engineering system of record, and we're an important part of PTC's engineering digital thread alongside PLM and Windchill RVNS. We have a stunning user experience. We've invested a lot of time and effort to improve the UX of Modeler over the last few years. We have a big focus on integrations. So again, ensuring the digital thread is enabled with integrations between the different engineering products and solutions PTC offer, as well as PTC solutions, third parties as well. And we have integrations with synchronization, code synchronization capabilities and simulation capabilities internal to Modeler and with third-party solutions as well. We have additional innovation in several areas, one of which is variability management and using asset library, systems of systems design. We have an integration with ThingWorks that gives you model-driven IoT design. So that's a brief introduction into the strategy of Modeler. If we look at the roadmap and the deliveries ahead of us, in Modeler 9.6 that we'll talk about in more detail, we have an OSLC, an integration focused release with capabilities integrating Windchill Modeler with Codebeamer, usability improvements, and support for better deployment in large enterprises. Looking forward for Windchill Modeler, we can see on the roadmap that SysML 2.0, the new standard from the OMG for systems modeling, will be a big focus for us in the next couple of releases. So this work has been ongoing within the OMG. PTC has been an active participant in the definition of this new standard, and we've been building these capabilities into a new solution, which we've been working on for a while, and that will be available in Modeler 10, with more capabilities in 10.1 going forward. So that's just a brief preview for the future releases. Windchill Modeler 9.6, as mentioned, is an OSLC focused release. So we have capabilities for Codebeamer, the usability enhancements I mentioned, and we'll talk about each one of these in detail, and then support for enterprise deployment with IBM doors. First of all, we're very pleased to be able to release an integration with Codebeamer so soon after acquisition of this great new product. And Codebeamer, as you know, is a requirements management tool with advanced capabilities and user experience. And it sits alongside Windchill RVNS as, a market-leading requirements management tool. So it makes sense for Windchill Modeler to be able to connect to requirements, create links to requirements in Codebeamer, as we do with Windchill RVNS and as we do with IBM Doors and Doors Next. So at this release, we've actually provided the capability in Windchill Modeler. So the OSLC client in Windchill Modeler is now able to connect to Codebeamer and create OSLC links that point to requirements in Codebeamer. In the future, there'll be support for test artifacts, most likely through the quality management domain of OSLC. So this first phase supports linking to requirements to make sure we can understand the design dependencies from your systems model or your software model in Windchill Modeler and the requirements that drive the design in Codebeamer. Of course, this helps you to also understand the impact of any design changes or requirements changes, because you understand that dependency between the different systems and the different artifacts in those systems. So Codebeamer now takes its place with the different tools that we can integrate with. So we have a very strong OSLC based set of integrations. And one of the real advantages here is that we have consistent user experience. So the Windchill modeler interacts with these integrations in the same way for all of these different tools. So the OSLC client capabilities are common regardless of which tool we connect to, which makes it really easy to work with these different tools, establish traceability, and then manage it over time. So to quickly sort of go through some of the main capabilities that we have, first of all, we have a browser in Modeler for OSLC data. So we can connect to a Codebeamer server through this browser that you see in the graphic. We can perform a search for requirements. And this is a real-time search onto Codebeamer where we can see the requirement information. We can use drag and drop to drag that requirement onto a model item to create OSLC links. So this is the consistent user experience that I was mentioning. It's creating OSLC links is the same with all of the different systems that we can connect to and integrate with. So we use drag and drop either onto a browser of model items or a diagram as we see here. We can access and navigate links. So from the previous slide, we'd have created an OSLC link. It would be related to a model item, like a use case that we can see. And then you can jump or navigate from that use case to the linked requirement. Either you can see the preview, as we see at the graphic on the bottom, and this is a live link. So every time you look at this preview, you're seeing the live data from Codebeamer for that linked requirement. We also have suspecting capability. So this will indicate when changes have been made to the linked requirements in Codebeamer. So it enables you to then assess whether the OSLC link is still valid, or if there's any design changes that need to be made as a result of the update to that requirement. So you can go through a kind of process like this where you investigate the change, decide what needs to be done. Maybe you'd clear the suspect status, update the link potentially to another item or another version, or delete the OSLC link if the relationship's no longer valid. So it helps you provide a layer of process and control over design changes and design traceability across multiple systems. So a very useful feature, the suspecting capability. We have reporting capability. So again, you can understand relationships that an item has. You can see internal links to items in the model or external links that point to requirements in other systems. If you want to see more detail about the linked requirement, you can use the View in Native System function. So this opens up your default web browser and navigates the user into Codebeamer so they can then see that requirement in full detail. So a really useful feature to allow the user to navigate from one system to another, following those traceability relationships. We have standard reviews for OSLC relationships. So this helps to understand all of the links that are in a given model. We have a link editor tool. And these are all standard OSLC features that are used for all of our integrations, as I mentioned at the start. And this allows us to maintain OSLC links over time. Maybe the OSLC server has been renamed or rehosted, and we need to do an update on the URIs that we store with our OSLC links. Or maybe we want to change the relationship and update the link, possibly pointing to a different version of a requirement. Okay, so let's have a quick look at this demonstration in action. And we start off Anna, let me know if this isn't coming through, but hopefully you guys can see the video. So we start off in Codebeamer with a few simple requirements. So we're looking at a tracker here with three requirements in there, and I'm highlighting the ID of this item. So now we're in Windchill Modeler, we're in the OSLC browser, and we can connect to that server and do a search for that item. I've used the exact item's ID for this, but you can use more open queries at this point to get the information out of Codebeamer. We see that one requirement that we looked at, fuel efficiency. We can see the different properties that requirement has. And here we can use the drag and drop features that I mentioned to create an OSLC link. So dragged it onto and dropped it onto that use case. We're going to create an allocate relationship to the use case and from the requirement. So now that's stored in the Windchill Modeler database, the OSLC link. It records the URI to that Codebeamer requirement. We've established a traceability relationship. We can review the information, the properties of the linked requirement. And we can manage suspecting as well. Here's the preview that we can see of the requirements in Codebeamer. And when we want to look at more detail, we can click the link. This will load it in the internal browser that we have. And here we can see in your default web browser as well, will show the link. View in native system takes us through to Codebeamer. We have to log in. And there we go straight through to the requirement. I didn't show it at the start of the movie, but the way that you set up a connection to Codebeamer is by adding a server with a URL and then logging in with a valid Codebeamer account. So I didn't show that at the start, but when you're connecting to systems through Windchill Modeler, you're using a defined user account. So everything's access controlled and managed as you would expect. Okay, so that's a really exciting development. In time into the future, we'll release more capabilities with Codebeamer. We'll introduce reverse lookup capabilities as well. And all of that's to come in the next few releases. So onto the usability topics that we have. So jump forward one. So we've provided the ability to call reverse lookup calls into Windchill PLM from Modeler. So this reverse lookup capability allows us to see OSLC links stored in another system. So this is the case where a Windchill user's created OSLC links to model items in Modeler, the OSLC links in Windchill, but the Modeler user can't see them natively in Modeler. So we have the ability from a model item to run a query on Windchill, and it will return any OSLC links that point to the searched item. It's kind of like a where used sort of relationship query across the two systems. And it's a very important capability because it allows the modeler user to see OSLC links wherever they're stored, whether they're in Modeler or stored in Windchill. And we also have this capability already with Windchill RVNS. So it allows you to see OSLC links, whichever system they're stored in. So the user sees the full picture of all of the trace relationships that are established with a set of items. Okay, let's quickly have a look at the demonstration of this. So we're looking at a few software classes from UML in Modeler. And we can call the find external links function. So we can see straight away that there's two items in Windchill PLM that point to this class. We can see the preview for that item, and then a preview for the second item. We can click through to view in native system as well. So we can go straight through into Windchill PLM and see the full details of that part. So quite a short demo, but a very simple capability just to sort of report back and query those OSLC links. And that now ensures that we can have end-to-end traceability and visibility of OSLC links across all of the tools in the digital thread. And as I mentioned at the start, this capability will come to Codebeamer soon as well. Actually, I think it's already in there with Windchill PLM and Codebeamer, but it'll be coming to Modeler and Codebeamer soon as well. Okay, the next enhancement was to provide a better user experience when you're working with Windchill RVNS, and especially when working with large data sets. So rather than being able to browse documents and expand items, it's much better to be able to run a search query using the main OSLC properties like ID and title. You can search for a specific requirement or sets of requirements or documents, and it ensures the best performance, ensures that you can handle large amounts of data, as quite a few Windchill RVNS users have large data sets. This is necessary to be able to scale for those types of situations. We still have the browsing capability, so you can go to a document and expand it, or you can use the new query capability and jump straight to an item. And this is now consistent with other integrations that we have where we locate data using a query rather than browsing. So that's what we do with Windchill PLM and IBM Doors Next. Now let's see this in action. So we're looking at the OSLC client in Modeler, and we've connected to an RVNS, a Windchill RVNS instance. We have two query channels there, one for requirements, one for documents. And we can query for the identifier, the ID of the item. And here we see a linked RVNS requirement. We can create a link using drag and drop, as we've seen before. There's the preview of that item. And of course, we've got suspecting and view in native system capabilities as well. So this ensures that we can see and handle large amounts of data and have the best possible performance when we interact with those large data sets. In this case, we've done a search for a document, and here we can see we can still browse and expand that document to see the requirements inside. Okay. The next enhancement is the function we've just seen a little bit, view in native system, where you navigate from an OSLC link to the linked item. When we do that with RVNS, previously we were linked to the old user interface. So now the link takes us through to the refreshed web UI. We can quickly see that in action. So we have another query run. Here's the resource, and we can call view in native system. And it takes us straight through to the new user interface in Windchill RVNS. Something else that we've improved are the preview pages when we look at Siemens Polarian requirements. So there's an example of what we now see, and some of these are clickable URLs as well. So this is a much better resource preview that we can see when we now access Polarian data. The final enhancement is around support for different deployment types for IBM Doors Next, and specifically when IBM Doors Next is deployed in a distributed environment. The graphic is part of the architecture guide provided with IBM Doors Next and the suite of apps. So it's when we have multiple server components on different machines, and this affects how authentication behaves. So we've updated the way we connect and authenticate against Doors Next. And yeah, no demonstration for that because it's just a login, but it's just enabling us to handle different types of deployment architectures. Some other improvements that we've provided in this release. Users of admin groups can now create new databases or logins. So there was a limitation really on using administration groups, so that now the permissions have been resolved. We've allowed logins to be deleted using Model Explorer. We've updated the permissions so the model owner can delete models that they have created. We've improved the handling of images when used with the RVNS, the Windchill RVNS synchronizer tool. Tables and matrices, the diagram windows now have a proper name text in the tab, so you can more clearly identify the different pages that you have open. There's some improved validation when we add OSLC servers. So this will help deployment and make it easier to install and set up OSLC connections. And also a bit more detailed error reporting in the OSLC client, again, helping us to make deployment a lot simpler. And setting up OSLC is really very simple today at the moment, but occasionally we see network connectivity issues. That's really the only thing that can go wrong if there's problems with seeing servers across a network. So these two things really help us to identify that very easily and fix the problem, overcome the issues. Okay, so in summary, we now provide traceability with Codebeamer, so we can connect system and software models with upstream requirements. A fantastic development. We have improved usability with that bi-directional visibility to OSLC links stored in PLM. We can locate data in Windchill RVNS more quickly using queries. We have better preview pages when working with Siemens Polarium to help us understand that traceability more clearly. And then we support secure connections to the IBM Doors Next in distributed environments. Okay, so before I go to the Q&A, just 1 second, I shall just bring everyone's attention to the PTC community. Let's make sure I get the right page. Okay. So hopefully you can now see the PTC community, and I just want to quickly make sure everyone's aware that we have a community that's openly available. I announce the new releases on this site. You can get notifications and subscribe to products. So every time there's a post from a product owner or a product manager, you'll get an email notification. And basically what we've just gone through, you can see and access here. So we've got links to the documentation, links to the software download, the demo movies that we've just seen. So yeah, I encourage you to go and make use of the PTC community, and you'll get these kind of notifications and access to resources. There's one final thing as well. Next up on the horizon is LiveWorks 23. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. So there will be a session for Windchill Modeler at LiveWorks. There'll be one where we cover the roadmap. That will be of interest to customers. We will also have a booth on the Extropolis floor. So we'll be demonstrating Modeler and helping customers and prospects and asking questions. But the one thing I want to definitely highlight is that we'll be having user experience labs for SysML 2.0. So this will be a chance to show our new solution for SysML 2.0 to customers, get some feedback, get their input and discuss what their requirements and needs are going forward. So if you have any customers that are going to LiveWorks, interested in Modeler, let them know that there's going to be these SysML 2.0 user experience labs. You can find them listed on LiveWorks website. So we're in the training catalog of events. Okay, so I think that wraps us up for today. Only 30 minutes of the hour. Thanks everybody for attending. I really appreciate your time.